Die USA sind voller Cannabis-Mythen. Einer der wichtigsten Orte liegt in Nordkalifornien, das Emerald Triangle. Genau dort startet unsere neue Doku Powered by Cannazen. Mein Name ist Lisa und das hier ist dein Cannazen-Podcast. Folge 1 führt uns in abgelegene Täler ohne Straßennamen, zu Farms ohne Schilder, in eine Region, die die moderne Cannabiskultur geprägt hat. Hier war Cannabis-Alltag lange bevor es legal wurde. Ihr seht echtes Pheno-Hunting, Outdoor-Growing als bewusste Entscheidung und Genetiken, die weltweit gefragt sind. Ohne Hype, ohne Trends. Der Start unserer USA-Reise powered by Cannazen. Los geht's!
Lance, where are we going now?
So now we're going to Nat's farm. Nat is one of the co-founders of Humboldt Seed Co. Humboldt Seed Company was started up here in Northern California. So the farm where they do the pheno hunting and source obviously a lot of their seeds and genetics is up here in the Klamath Valley, which to give people an idea, it's about an hour's drive from Eureka, Humboldt County, kind of along the water. So we're kind of inland a little bit in this massive valley. These mountains around us are several thousand feet high. So it's a really cool adventure and we're looking forward to it.
Can you explain what is the Emerald Triangle?
Yeah, definitely. So really to explain the Emerald Triangle, you have to go back to the beginning. And it really started back with the Summer of Love in San Francisco. So there was this mass migration, the war was going on in Vietnam. You had a lot of the younger generation that wanted, they wanted love, they wanted peace. So they called it the Summer of Love. They all came together, concerts in the park, all the rest of it. And they were really protesting the war and how our government was putting us in a war on the other side of the world that really didn't have anything to do with us politically. Once the Summer of Love ended, it was also kind of the end of an era, right? The hippie generation was the 60s. That was what are now the boomers, the older generation. And so once the 60s ended and the 70s came in, the 70s were more of like a groovy, kind of laid back, finally we were starting to kind of wind down the war. So that kind of wore off. Well, when this occurred, the hippies weren't really welcome in the big cities. You guys may have seen, you can still find it every once in a while at old shops and such. There's signage, hippies enter from the back, long hairs enter from the back of the shop, that kind of thing. They really were segregated because they were thought of just these dirty, like not clean cut, not employed, and it wasn't. It was part of a movement of saying like, we put Mother Earth, we put Mother Nature first over wars and over capitalism and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So you had this kind of mass exodus out of San Francisco in Northern California. Some hippies stayed close. Some went to a little town like Berkeley, which is home of one of our oldest colleges. Some of them went down to Santa Cruz, Scotts Valley. All of that's kind of in the Bay Area, as we say, kind of, within an hour of San Francisco. But a number of them moved up into Northern California. And a lot of them settled in northern Mendocino County, in Humboldt County, and some even up in Trinity County. These three counties make up the triangle. So you have Mendocino, you have Humboldt, and you have Trinity. And originally the Hipnecks went up there and they really were kind of modern day homesteaders. They pooled together their money. They got a vast piece of land like we see here on the side of the road. And it was communal. You had, the husbands would be out, the fathers, the dads would be out there in the fields, cultivating, gardening, growing. The moms would be at home educating, taking care of the children. It was just this, everyone pitches up into this movement. They did okay with growing and sustaining for themselves, but they needed more money to build up the community. They needed to build community centers. They needed to build real proper schools for the kids. And so a cash crop came along by a few of these, what now we call hipnecks, but were hippies back then, homesteaders, came along and introduced producing cannabis up in the mountains. And it was very much illegal at this time, right? The original war on drugs in the U.S. was with H.A. Anslinger back in the 30s, the reefer madness, if you hear about that. Mm-hmm. That was the war on drugs that the silent generation saw, the people that are now in their 90s and older. And then the boomers, the ones that were the summer of love, the hippies, they saw Nixon's war on drugs. And President Nixon really by 71 had like all but put this plant as enemy number one on that list of drugs. My generation, the Gen X, growing up in the 80s, we had the DARE program. And the DARE program still very much chastised cannabis. They said that, quote unquote, marijuana is a gateway drug. It opens people up to psychedelics and to PCP and heroin and cocaine and all these things, right? But anyway, so they started producing, cannabis up in the Triangle, and this was in the 70s. So it was very much this war on drugs. Well, the war on drugs, by the time the DARE program came in the 80s, went to a whole other level. So a lot of these guys that used to just have maybe a field of corn and they'd grow some cannabis in the middle of it, some weed in the middle of it. Now all of a sudden, with the DARE program, they had even more budget to bring in, rather be the National Guard or the Army. Like they were bringing in literal helicopters to fly over and find the grow operations. So that movement, that war on drugs, really changed the way that they grew, but it also changed what they grew. They needed to start growing things that weren't so aromatic. Yeah. So you started finding more muted cultivars that didn't have such high terpene, such loud smell to it. Have these recon teams that would go out and just literally just search the forest in Northern California for these crops. What they couldn't see overhead, which normally would have been these beautiful canopies of flower, they started actually putting in hoops and hiding the plants, but you could still smell it. You guys know terpenes, if the breeze hits you right, you can smell it for half a kilometer away if it's a massive crop. So it really did start changing the way, but that's where we're going now. We're going to meet some growers on this adventure that have been growing for multiple generations on the same land and have really mastered the craft. And not just growing this plant. I mean, they're phenomenal organic growers. A lot of the outdoor, they do full term, full sun. Some are doing things like living soil
as well.
Google growing.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, very cool. Not everyone. There's some people that they do depth, so they're doing a greenhouse with light depth. So they're doing some mixed light of natural light and artificial light.
Okay.
And that kind of comes from another movement, especially out of Southern California, where there's this big push on indoor. Everyone associates a higher quality or a better bud with what's grown indoor, which I'm an outdoor full-term guy, so I'm not a believer of that. I think that Mother Nature does something to this plant
better
that
than indoor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you just can't, the spectrum that you get out of true natural sunlight versus artificial spectrum from even an LED with that full spectrum of UV, it's just not the same.
Okay, yeah.
So...
Wir sind endlich angekommen auf der Farm und ich werde jetzt erstmal kurz eine Runde mit euch zusammen hier durchlaufen und euch mal zeigen, wie die Pflanzen aussehen. Ihr seht hier die Büsche da oben? Mein Gott, das sind XXL-Pflanzen, Leute. Es ist jetzt zwar nicht so wie Mendodope so groß, aber er hat gemeint, die ziehen nichts vor, die tun die einfach einsehen und die werden von alleine so groß. Jetzt schauen wir mal hoch. Wow, Leute. Wow, die sehen super aus von der Farbe. Die haben keinen Mangel. Schaut dir mal den Stamm an. Und ich habe große Hände. Ja, ich habe sehr große Hände. So. Puh, okay, das sind einige Meter. Das sind bestimmt 3 Meter Pflanzen. So, hier übrigens, hier wird nur Living Soil angebaut. Das heißt, alles naturell. Keine zusätzlichen Nährstoffe oder kein mineralischer Dünger. Und dann möchte ich mich auch noch recht herzlich bedanken bei den Supportern von diesem Kanal. Und zwar ist es einmal S&R Organic, den Biodünger, den ich jetzt schon seit 2 Jahren verwende. Ich kann ihn wirklich nur weiterempfehlen. Link findet ihr unten in der Videobeschreibung und einen Code, wo ihr 20% sparen könnt. Und natürlich ein großes Shoutout an Kanasen, die uns schon beim Marokko-Trip unterstützt haben. Vielen Dank nochmal an Kanasen. Und natürlich Groovebags. Lance Lambert hat uns hier eingeladen und überhaupt diesen Trip möglich gemacht. Und deswegen auch noch ein Shoutout an Groovebags. Vielen Dank nochmal und jetzt geht's weiter mit der Folge. Viel Spaß. Riecht so nach Banane. So ein Banane und süßlich, bisschen mit Creme vom Geruch her. Das sind solche Caves. Diese Caves, die immer benutzen. Da geht es um Stabilisierung vom Wind. Und wenn starker Regen kommt, damit die Pflanzen nicht abbrechen. Wir haben jetzt hier zum Beispiel einen Phänotyp, der relativ purple ist. Das sieht sehr interessant aus, ich zeige euch das gleich. Und hier haben wir, die riechen auf jeden Fall gleich, aber haben 2 verschiedene Buds. Wir haben hier einmal so ein Purple Strain. Wir werden auch gleich mit Ben sprechen, welche Strains wir hier haben. Auf jeden Fall sehr feucht hier, es ist sehr, sehr feucht hier. Gestern hat es geregnet und ihr seht Purple Buds. Keine Purple Blätter, sondern wirklich die Buds sind Purple nur. Wir laufen mal weiter. Wir verwenden auf jeden Fall solche Folien. Oder wenn es regnet, dann hauen die Folien drüber. Also hier zum Beispiel sehe ich gar keinen Schimmel. Ich habe gehört, hier gibt es auch ab und zu mal Probleme mit Mehltau. Leute. Und bevor es weitergeht, möchte ich mich auch noch recht herzlich bedanken bei euch da draußen, damit ich hier sein kann. Alleine, dass ihr das Video anschaut, liked oder subscribt, hilft diesem Kanal wirklich weiter und es kostet nichts. Support ist kein Mord. Genießt auf jeden Fall jetzt die Show. Wir gehen weiter und schauen uns die Farm weiter an. Let's go. So, wir haben jetzt hier auch wieder ein bisschen Schimmel, aber nur an den Seiten ein bisschen, ja. Ich zeige euch mal den Strain. Leider weiß ich nicht, welcher Strain es ist, aber sieht auf jeden Fall eine Sativa aus, bisschen würde ich sagen, von der Blattstruktur. Also schon große Blätter. So, hier sehe ich auch mal wieder was Interessantes. Und zwar wieder ein paar Buds, die gepurpelt sind, aber wo nur die Buds gepurpelt sind. Das ist sehr interessant. Die sehen echt geil aus. Wow. Leute. Aber die haben echt nicht so einen starken Geruch, muss ich sagen. Also die anderen gerade eben hatten einen stärkeren Geruch. Aber von der Optik wirklich nice. Schau, der ist schon umgeknickt, weil er einfach zu dick war. Der Bud war einfach zu dick. Schauen wir mal hier. Gehen wir mal weiter. Hier haben wir noch einen anderen Strain. Auch sehr interessante Wuchsform. Die planen übrigens momentan als nächstes eine Jamaika-Tour. Das ist Mango, glaube ich. Wow. Boah, das ist echt fruchtig. Wahnsinn. So, hier zeige ich euch mal, wie die arbeiten. Schauen wir uns mal hier den Arbeitsplatz an. Hier ist die ganze Erde, die verwenden. Ja, hier sehen wir die Wurzelballen. Ja, dann haben wir hier eine Quest. Was macht hier im Auto eine Quest? Okay. Kann man auf jeden Fall hier gute Testungen machen und schauen, wie die Pflanzen reagieren auf alles. So, dann haben wir hier noch einen Strain. Das ist jetzt nicht mein Geschmack. So ein bisschen würziger Geruch. Oh, hier haben wir eine. Ich kann es leider nicht lesen. So, dann schauen wir mal weiter. Boah, die ist aber sehr buschig. Also, da ist wirklich alles voll. Die Buds, viele Blätter in den Buds. Das wäre jetzt nicht mein Favorite Strain mit so viel Blattmasse in den Buds. Sehr, sehr buschiges Wachstum. Und da hinten haben wir jetzt, schauen wir mal da hinten, ob wir noch einen, der ist auch sehr buschig. Auch nochmal so einen ganz dicken Bud. Aber auch sehr, sehr viele Blätter. Purpelt ganz leicht. Mit natürlicher Sonne gegrowt. So, jetzt haben wir hier eine Pflanze, die sieht wirklich sehr, sehr gut aus. Die Blätter schauen nach oben. Nährstoffe sind da. Und rote Stängel. Ich glaube, das ist genetisch. Schauen wir mal. Es sind nur die Blätter, die rot werden. interessante auf Blattform hier. Boah, so ein bisschen Tangy, so ein Tangy-Geruch. Boah, auch so creamy Tangy bisschen. Boah, Leute. Puh. Schauen wir mal die Buds an. Ja, die haben auch hier diese roten. Schau, die Blätter sind von unten rot. Der auf jeden Fall. Der auch. Oder die, Entschuldigung, ist eine sie. Hier haben wir ein paar Ladies stehen. So, was haben wir hier? Ah, wieder Banane, Richtung Banane hier. Gute Trichome drauf. Könnt ihr sehen. Schauen wir, ob ich hier einen Zettel finde. Schauen wir mal. Wir werden auch noch auf diesem Kanal weitere Farmen besuchen in ganz Kalifornien, also im Emerald Triangle. Wir sind jetzt Station 1, Humboldt Seed Company. Echt coole Leute, die machen hier, was sie lieben, und das finde ich ganz, ganz toll.
Where we're at right now, so we're deep in the backwaters of Humboldt County, and this is our anchor farm. So This is where everything started for Humboldt Seed Company back in early 2000, 2001, and it was growing and breeding seeds just for kind of the friends and family, like the local area around here, really got their seeds a lot of times from us. And we were kind of breeding for this area. So things that would finish really early, things that were, generally really mold resistant, because up here you can tell it's super green and lush, and we just got a bunch of rain. So like there's a heavy pressure of different molds and pathogens. So it's really important for the farmer to be able to harvest something, that's gonna be pure at the end. So it's gonna fight off those molds. So like the season here we're pretty much getting towards the end of it. The first rains have come, and it's just gonna steadily get rainier and rainier for the rest of this month and into the next month. So you want to harvest here around, ideally like September 27th through like October 7th in this area, and then as we go further south into California on this trip, the harvest date gets later and later, so we can grow more different and different strains, or longer and longer flowering strains.
I have one question. Is this this is the main farm here? Huh?
Yeah, so this is the main licensed farm for Humboldt Seed Company. We have two. We have one here, and this is the larger farm, and it's an old school farm. It's kind of been here for forever. It's the lemon Skittles cross that we've been working on. And it's not quite finished yet. But the smell on it, I mean, the smell is like dead on, like certs, or like some sort of like candy, or like a lemon drop kind of flavor, or like maybe a lemon soda or lemon fizzy water kind of vibe. And so today we're gonna go through and we're gonna actually take a 10-gram sample of a lot of these plants and do a jar test, which we'll put ice in a jar, 10 grams of flour, a little bit of water, let it soak for about 5 minutes and get ice cold. And then we'll shake it for another 5 minutes, and then we'll let it all settle, and we'll actually see the heads of the trichome settle to the bottom of the jar. And then side by side, you can do a comparative analysis and see which plant or which phenotype, produced an extra, 1 or 2% of hash compared to the others. So that's like a great first filter for when you're hunting for washers, because it just lets you it's not fully scientific, because we're not actually measuring, what percentage came off. It's just a visual, like, oh, okay, this one produced more, so it'll move on to the next round. Or then we'll harvest like a 4,000 gram sample, wash it in an Osprey unit, make an actual lot of bubble hash, and then do the numbers to see like what the actual yield was per micron bag. The best I've seen is 9%.
9%.
Yeah,
wow.
The garlic butter Spears of Jaw Cut is absolutely a dumper. It's a really loud garlic GMO type nose to it, which is kind of offensive to some people, but the yield for rosin is spectacular. Like it's just in the jar, you see it. The water turns like kind of like a purplish color, and then the sand at the bottom's thick. And when we were doing our numbers, we had to keep double checking our numbers, because we thought 2 batches got combined. But then when we went back through and did another wash, it came out at 9%.
All right.
So yeah, average we see like 3% and above is what we consider like could be a washer. 5% is kind of like a great production level, especially if it has really unique terps. So that's where our unicorn class comes in. And then yeah, like 9% is just out of this world. It's ridiculous. Yeah, this is actually, we're getting into some stuff that's going to be really interesting for washers, because this is actually another take on the perps, which had some genetics from the garlic butter in it. So like some of these strains, you'll actually you can feel the leaves that have trichrome heads on them. And if you rub them around in your fingers, you'll actually feel the head of the trichrome rolling around in your fingers, versus other strains, you'll take a little rub and then it'll be like tacky, or it'll be really greasy. Like what you're looking for is something that'll be kind of dry and sandy, which means that it has a thicker cuticle layer on the head. So it's a little stronger, a little more protected. And it can indicate that it has a little bit of a weaker neck, so that the head of the trichrome is actually breaking off of the stalk of the trichrome a little easier.
Okay.
But yeah, and there's one phenotype over here that I was super excited about, which is this purple one. Yeah, this one. I just love how she looks. Right? She feels a little greasy, so I hope she washes, but I think this is a really good candidate for coming through, and even looking at the heads really close up. You can see them, and you can it's a larger head. You can see them with the naked eye, and I can make out just some barely faint, what looks like could be purple coloring coming through into this trichrome, at least into the stalk, which could indicate potential for purple hash, which is like the holy grail.
Purple hash, yeah. But
purple, pink
I had
hash.
already washes where the water was red, but the hash was not purple.
Yeah, and I think that might be the case for this, because sometimes under Chris's photography, you can see either the stalk will just have anthocyanin in it, or sometimes that it'll come up the stalk and you'll see it actually bleed into the head just a little bit, just around the base of the cap. Okay, and those are the ones that come out with that slightly pink or purple hues to them.
And they're rare, huh?
Super rare.
Super rare.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably, I would say maybe 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 strains that you find for washing is actually going to then, wash with the heads. It's all the genetics. This is the Gushmints, Perps, garlic butter mashup. Yeah, and I'm surprised only this one turned purple, and then this one came out purple too. This one's a lot bigger.
So that's the same, huh?
Yeah, this is the same.
Just another pheno.
Yeah, this is all a pheno. This is all an F1. So this is the first time that these strains have been crossed. So you're seeing a phenotypic spread, which is what we're looking for in the pheno hunt. These are unreleased, so it's different than our main seeds. And so these ones are brothers and sisters that are all unique. But this one is going to has that loby bulbous thing kind of going on, and it looks like it might have some purple hues in it. I kind of like that purple better because it's a little bit lighter in the bag. Whereas sometimes the dark purples, if they're not cured just right, they turn a little brown looking.
They don't look so tasty then.
Yeah, they look a little old.
Yes.
But so yeah, it's finding that balance. That's why the pheno hunt's so cool, is because you get to go through and see from the deepest, darkest purple to the lemon lime green, and then everything in between. This one came out, and this one's totally different than any of the other ones, and it's just super frosty. I would say this is more looking like the Gushmints to me, as far as with those frost tacos coming out.
So what we have else? This one turned as well a little bit.
Yeah, this one turned purple. This one's this one's maybe a little too purple. If you're growing this indoor, you could keep that purple really nice, but for outdoor, it'd be a little bit tough, I think, to keep that purple. But God, she's pretty. And if for hash, that's the coolest thing about hash is it's not all about the aesthetic of the flower. It's all about the quality. What comes out. Because you could have a flower that looks okay, but it smells amazing, and you would be like, oh well, you smell great, but I'm not going to keep you for a flower phenotype. Yeah. But if it washes really well and yields 5% or more, then you have a rock star of hash, a hash producer. So this is I think Zane's show row. We can walk through the middle of it. This one has purple pistils. Have you seen this before? This is something that comes out every once in a while in different strains, is those pink and purple pistils.
This color, wait.
Right, it looks alien.
It looks not real.
Yeah, and you can see it's just this one plant. I mean, maybe there's another plant, but like the top of that thing. Oh, this is the CF50. Yeah, this is a new one we've been working on. Yeah, super black. Yeah, these are way past their prime. So like for flower, we would have harvested these like weeks ago. Okay. But when it comes to seed production, you have to take the plant so much farther deep into flower to get the seeds to mature properly.
This is to making seeds. You make seeds here.
Yeah. Each one of these greenhouses is isolated from the one next to it.
Nächste Woche gibt es dann gleich die nächste Folge oder ihr findet es unten in der Videobeschreibung, findet ihr dann die Playlist, wo dann die nächste Serie kommt. Da werden wir mit Ben von Humboldt Seed Company hier hinten einen Phänohunt machen. Wir werden hier herausfinden, welche von den Phänotypen hier am meisten Ertrag bringt. Und wenn ihr da auf jeden Fall dabei sein wollt, dann bleibt dran. Danke auch an die Zuschauer, alle. Vielen, vielen Dank, dass ich hier sein kann, Mann. Danke.